Any lean portfolio management implementation would not be complete without managing the daily work that turns portfolios and strategies into tangible results. That's why our platform covers the work management tools category too. While focusing on polished UI design, most traditional tools have limitations in visualizing sophisticated workflows, cover single teams instead of the entire service delivery, lack thorough support of lean, agile analytics to uncover optimization opportunities. That's why we will demonstrate how our platform helps you visualize your service delivery on Kanban boards, track cross-team dependencies, spot process bottlenecks, analyze lean, agile metrics to optimize your workflow and deliver faster. And while we've already touched upon setting up your workflows, let's take a closer look at how your teams can mature them even further. You can start by creating a new workspace from the plus button next to My Workspaces. Let's create a new team workspace. Give it a name and add our first team board to it. The team workspace will appear on the home dashboard. Once you enter a team board, you will see the default view of a typical Kanban board for team operations. For your convenience, you can change the default background of a board to a different color or an image of your choice. Moving on, the User Management panel is where you can invite users, manage their roles, and access to boards. There are three main roles: the account owner, who has all rights across the account; workspace managers, who have full permissions to configure workspaces and boards they're assigned to; and regular users, who can get roles with predefined permissions to execute certain actions. You can read more about administration in our knowledge base. Now, let's explore how Kanban boards can help your teams manage work effortlessly. On every board, with a double click on a card's workflow, you can create cards for individual work items that have multiple properties. Each card contains a title, description, and other properties. Under Card fields, you can define the owner of a card, including co-owners. You can also set a deadline, define its size, and add tags. It is possible to add custom fields to a card and easily attach files. The Links Overview field is where you can see what other cards the current one is linked to. Furthermore, you can mark your cards with a specific type to distinguish between your work items. From the options in the upper right corner, you can specify the priority of the card and even apply a template to it. Every card also contains the following tabs: Subtasks, Comments, History, Metrics, and Links. In the Subtasks tab, you can add checklists of your work. Any subtask can be assigned to different users in your account. The Comments section is where you can collaborate with your team by leaving notifications or sending emails directly from the card. With the History tab, you can keep track of the activities that have happened on the card. The Metrics tab is where you can see how long the card has stayed in different parts of the workflow. The Links tab provides an overview of all the other cards linked to it. After you're done configuring the details of your card, you can choose how it appears on the board. To do so, access the Configure Card View menu from the right sidebar. Here, you could determine which card properties and fields to see on a closed card view for better visibility. For example, you could choose whether to see the deadline of a card, show its subtasks, as well as links in different formats. You could also use the card zoom switch to enable different board views. This comes in handy especially when dealing with a lot of work on a single board. To properly structure your work, it's important to mention the different types of link relationships. You can have parent-child links, which allow the creation of a hierarchical structure of your work. For example, the relationship between an initiative and a card would be parent-child. Successor-predecessor links, which allow you to visualize dependencies between multiple work items. You cannot start a successor card before you complete its predecessor. And relative link relationships between cards. If multiple cards belong to the same group of work items, but there is no hierarchy between them, you can link these cards with a relative link to group them together. Moving on, to create initiatives, use the initiatives workflow for your projects and double-click on the requested area. With a simple drag and drop, you can break down the team initiative into child cards. In this case, let's create 3 child cards for the initiative, which will serve as its lower-level work items. The child cards will be visualized on the initiative by little rectangles. Once you start working on a child card, the team initiative will automatically move to In Progress. Each initiative has a progress indicator, and as you complete child work, the progress indicator will increase. If you move all child cards to Done, then the entire initiative will be completed too. You can also create your initiatives on a timeline workflow to visualize them in a calendar view. Every timeline initiative contains fields where you can plan its start and end dates, as well as track the actual start and end dates. Keep in mind that the green vertical line shows the current date. And if your project is off track, the progress indicator will change color, visualizing the delay. To save time, you can quickly plan your timeline initiatives according to a given date by expanding or shrinking their slider. You can also change the timeline view to different time units for your convenience. When managing work, you might have a bunch of dependencies with other teams. To visualize them, you can use the Related Boards feature in the platform to link multiple Kanban boards together and track work across teams. To create a linked card, drag and drop a card from the current board to the other team board and choose what type of cross-team dependencies to establish. The work item will become visible on the responsible team board, which you can quickly access from the panel. Let's now suppose that the other team moves the linked work item in progress, and due to an impediment, they block it there. This action will become visible inside the panel on the first board too, allowing both teams to stay aware of what's going on with their work. When talking about blocking work, visualizing impediments and resolving issues is an essential part of workflow optimization. In our platform, you can easily apply stickers and blockers to your cards, Stickers are used to label a work item with given information, while blockers allow you to visualize impediments. The card tokens can be applied from the sidebar menu, and they can be customized to suit your scenario. You can also block a card from its context menu by selecting the option. When a child card of an initiative is blocked, the blocker will also become visible on the initiative. This allows teams to see what work needs their attention. If you wish to see only the blocked cards on your board, you can use the quick filters to set specific card filtering criteria, so you can visualize only those cards that have an impediment. And while using those functionalities lays the foundation of your team management, how can you actually configure your workflows? This is what we're looking at next. With the Edit Workflows functionality on top of every board, you can further mature your workflows. Let's start by changing the names of the default initiatives and cards workflows with something you might be using internally. For example, let's change the initiatives workflow to projects and the cards workflow to work items. Having the default workflows may be a good start, but if you need something more sophisticated, you can add multiple workflows to your board. You could do this from the Create New Workflow button, where you can create a cards, initiatives, or timeline workflow. If you wish, you can also copy an existing workflow from another board. Let's create a timeline workflow, where you can visualize initiatives in a roadmap. It will be placed at the top of your board, but you can rearrange the workflows based on your specific needs. Moving on, with the plus signs on a workflow, you can add multiple columns and subcolumns to it. For example, let's add a review column as part of your in-progress area and below it, two subcolumns, ready for review and in review. Using the gear icon, you can apply different configurations to your process steps. For example, you can fill in a description of the ready for review stage that illustrates its intended use. Just below the description, you can also set exit criteria for the column. Think of the exit criteria as requirements that a work item needs to cover before you can move the card out of the current column. A basic example of exit criteria is attached documents. You can also define your column type. In this case, the Ready for Review column is a queue because work items are waiting. However, steps where team members are producing active work should be activity. You can also apply permanent card ordering per column, subcolumn, or cell based on various criteria by clicking on the filter icon. Let's say you want to have the work items with the highest priority on top of your queue. You could choose to order cards by priority, from highest to lowest. Keep in mind, there is a wide variety of other criteria you could select from for prioritization purposes. Apart from columns, the workflows can be separated horizontally by swim lanes. Swim lanes can be used to allow you to better visualize different types of work, classes of service, or priority. Let's rename the current default lane to Standard Work. And color it yellow so it's easy to distinguish it. You can also add a new swim lane on top called Expedite, which will be reserved only for urgent tasks. A very helpful feature you can use to edit your workflow is the merge function. For example, due to the urgent nature of the work in the expedite section, you might want to have only one in progress column. Simply merge the cells to reflect this. One of the most crucial elements in the design of a Kanban board is setting work in progress limits to help teams optimize their flow. An easy way to do this is to click on the corresponding field next to limit and enter the desired number of cards you want to allow. Let's set the limit for 1 for in progress. Moving to the clock icon, you can also apply service level expectations to the in progress and requested stages of your process, including swim lanes. This way, you can define how much time a card shall remain within a given column or lane. You have plenty of options, such as setting a maximum cycle time, defining time units, additional filters, and advanced settings for configuring your working days and hours. Keep in mind that you can measure the performance of your service level expectations with dedicated charts inside the software's analytics module. Lastly, let's take a look at how you can configure your cycle time, which is crucial for optimizing your process. With the Configure Cycle Time option above each workflow, you can define which columns to be included in the final cycle time calculation of a card. A good practice is to exclude the backlog and done areas. Let's now save the changes and see how those configurations apply to a board. Going back to a board, you can see everything we've just configured. A progress bar appears on a closed card view, visualizing the SLE we applied. If you move the card to the In Progress area, the system will indicate that you have reached the work in progress limit. If you move the card to Ready for Review, you will see how the exit criteria for the workflow area appears. We should note that you can move a card with unchecked exit criteria backwards if it needs rework, for example. However, it won't be possible to move the same card forward unless you check those criteria out. Let's now hover over the Ready for Review column to see what this stage is all about. Other than that, you can see that there is a permanent card order applied to the requested column. In other words, the system will automatically place an order for a given set of cards based on their priority level. To further mature your team's workflow, you can use arrival-departure rules to predefine what criteria work should meet to enter or depart from a given area of the board. These rules can be applied per board, workflow, column, lane, or cell. Imagine you have a lane within your workflow which is reserved for work requests made by another team. To ensure better prioritization of your work, you might add an arrival rule, which allows the creation of cards within that lane only if they have a deadline. In contrast to the arrival rules, you can create departure rules in order for work to depart a given work area. For example, imagine you have a workflow where work is handed off to another team. With a departure rule, you can set a condition that forbids the exit of cards from the current board if they are moved to the wrong team board. In this case, moving a card to Team Board D will not be permitted. To facilitate the management of your workflow, you can use the business rules which allow you to automate actions when certain events occur. To access the business rules, go to the Administration panel and select Business Rules. Let's choose to add a new rule. Here you can see all types of business rules you can create. We will use the Card is Created rule to put this into practice. Imagine you want to set critical priority to a card that is created in the Expedite swim lane and directly choose its owner. You need to specify the board area that matches your requirements. So when a card is created and the board is Team Board C, you can add a new property such as lane. Then you have to select the Expedite swim lane from the mini-map that appears. Next, you need to define the action following this rule. In this case, once the card is created, let's set its priority to critical. Then, let's also add a new action that automatically makes the owner of this card Nick. Once you exit the Business Rules panel and return to the board, you will see a spiral sign on the Expedite swim lane. This is a visual indicator that there are business rules applied to that area of the board. Now, let's create a new work item in the Expedite swim lane and demonstrate the business rule in action. As you see, the priority of the card changed by itself to critical, and the owner is Nick. This was just a very basic example of how to use business rules. In reality, there are thousands of actions that can be automated to help you save time. Finally, let's move to the last topic of our demo, or how to improve as a team continuously. Once you've visualized your workflow and gathered some delivery data, you can analyze your process with the Analytics module in the software. One of the many charts that you can use is the Cycle Time Heat Map. You can filter your data by different attributes such as lane name, priority, type, to see how much time work spent based on specific criteria in different process areas. Keep an eye on the red squares because they can reveal problematic areas within your process where work might be getting stalled. With the throughput chart, on the other hand, you can measure how much work your team delivers on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, or yearly basis. Monitor the throughput trend to see if you're getting more or less efficient over time. That leads us to the end of our demo. However, keep in mind that even this is a small portion of what our platform has to offer, as the product intersects solutions for managing project portfolios, strategic execution, and team operations. We invite you to start your free trial and see what's possible for yourself.